There's a river town that is known for miles around for its music scene. Travel 75 or 71 and you'll know where I mean. From the north and south, from the east and west is where you'll find our vibe. But once you make it here, you become a part of the Cincinnati tribe. Throw your O's in the air for this growing city. From the hood to the burbs, y'all sing it with me. I'm from Cincinnati.
Okay. Hey, it's Jay, Cincinnati's Conscience, home of the citizen celebrity, and I am sitting down with one of my favorite humans. I'm of the OTR neighborhood, and I am really proud of the diverse offerings here, specifically in like the CBD, OTR. And when I first came back to Cincinnati, I was looking for community. And one of the easiest ways to find it is finding a local watering hole. And so I stumbled into the Bay Horse and was fortunate enough to meet some amazing humans, one of which a bona fide citizen celebrity right here with us, Kyle Smith.
Hello.
Owner, proprietor, Doctor Who fan,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorite things about him. We'll talk to him about this bar, the legacy of the Bay Horse, some of the amazing things that have come through here, as well as spring is coming, he's bringing forward. What shit is he shedding? What's up?
How are you? Great to have you.
I am good. I'm so grateful for you.
Of course,
I
I'm
mean,
grateful
we've
for
been
you.
talking about this for a little bit,
Yeah.
so to finally sit down, I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's great.
So really quick, are you from Cincinnati? If you are, tell us where you're from, represent,
Yeah,
a
so
little bit of that.
I was actually born on the west side. I live in Cleves.
Okay.
About 10 years ago, I bought my family's old home. So I live in the same house that I lived in for the last 25 years, 26 years.
Oh.
Yeah, so I like, it's a little bit of a commute, but it's different than, I used to live downtown.
Right.
And then I moved out there, and I tell you, it took me about 3 weeks to get to sleep because it was so quiet out there. You can hear a pin drop. And it's just a lot different than living in the actual metropolitan area. But I love it. It gives me a duality. You work in the city, you play in the city, and then you go home at night to the suburbs and the quiet. And it's really cool. It gives you a really nice sense of duality.
I bet your puppy appreciates
Oh,
it.
having a yard. You gotta have a yard. I could never do that again down here and have dogs. No, they gotta have a yard. It's just, it's a must.
Okay, so obviously you've dabbled in both parts of this community, like rural and I guess rural was suburban and urban. How did you land at the Bay Horse?
So I've been kind of shopping around for about a year and a half.
Okay.
I know a lot of bar owners. I've been bartending for 17 years, so I know a lot of owners. I know a lot of managers, and a lot of the guys that I associate with in the ownership department, like in the ownership part of it, are looking to get out. A lot of them are getting older, and they just want to be done with it. They want to retire, and so I had a couple of guys that I had approached who were thinking about selling. And so I kept looking at places, and nothing ever was really the right fit. And I was working at a hotel less than a block away from here, on 7th Street, and I was just so happened to be going to get on my lunch break. I was going to go down and get a thing of sushi on my lunch break, and I was walking by, and the owner of the building, his name's Fred Berger, he was putting a for rent sign in the window. And I knocked on the window, and I pointed, I was like, "What's this?" And so he brought me in, and he showed me the place. And I immediately fell in love. Just the history of it, the story behind it, the previous owners and the story behind their stories and stuff. I just absolutely fell in love with the concept. And I told him, I said, I don't care what it costs, I don't care what it takes. You give me a number, I'll make it happen. Wow. And I begged, borrowed, and stole for a couple of months, and got as much. I called in every favor anybody had ever owed me, like scraped up every dollar I could, doing everything I could. And we got started. It took about 60 days from the initial time that I met Fred to the time we opened. And we were aiming at opening on Red's opening day.
Of course.
And unfortunately, we had some line issues with the beer and with the hop.
Okay.
And so that put us back a week. And I'm absolutely, after going through my first opening day last year, I'm absolutely I'm so thrilled that I didn't open on opening day because I would have been alone and they would have wrecked me and that no one would have ever wanted to come back to this bar because it would have just been the sloppiest thing you'd ever seen. So I got really lucky and I was able to. Some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
Say that.
So
Say
like
that.
sometimes you find out like okay, we didn't need to open on opening day, and I'm really glad we didn't because I was not staffed, I was not prepared for that, and I found that out the following year when we finally had our first opening day. It was the biggest day that this bar has seen in 140 years.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It was the biggest
Yeah.
sales day we've ever had.
Wow.
It was insane.
Well, this is classic Cincinnati to
Yes.
me. This bar,
Absolutely.
this vibe, it is classic Cincinnati. What was the appeal? I mean, talk a little bit about the story. What is
Yeah,
tell the
so
story of the Bay Horse.
Bay Horse Café is arguably the second oldest bar in Cincinnati behind Arnold's. We were founded in 1878. And it was a gentleman only club.
Really?
Yeah. So if you go to where Righteous Room is now, was another bar. It was called the Phoenix, and the Bay Horse and the Phoenix were sister bars, and they were the only two bars in Cincinnati that were men only. And so, if you look around on the photographs that we have here on the walls, you're going to see that the clientele was trench coat wearing, fedora wearing, business suit guys who had just gotten off work, and it was a working man's bar. And then as it got into the 60s, we were actually down on 5th Street, right here where the Federal Building is. Yeah, it was right there until 1961, and they tore that whole block down to make way for the Federal Building. So we moved here in 1962, and this building was actually Joe Logan's Grand Cafe when we moved in. And Joe Logan was known as just the kind of owner who was there every day, always behind the bar, always working.
Okay.
And there's an article in the back room that's in the frame, and it says the one thing that was known about Joe Logan was he had the starchiest white shirt in town, and a fellow would think that he would slit his own throat by turning his head too fast because his shirt was so starched. So a lot when we first got started, it was very collared shirt. On Friday we like to dress up and stuff. We kind of calmed down on that because it gets super taxing with how much we're moving. You don't want to be wearing a cocktail dress or a suit behind the bar,
Yeah.
So I've kind of calmed down on that, and I let them wear whatever they want now. But before it was this building was actually built in 1861, the same year that Arnold's was founded, and this was actually Henry Korf's Clocks and Watches. And so that's why I put all the clocks on the walls when I moved in. That was my addition to the ambiance and to the decorations. There's probably 19 clocks in this place. But he was known as the best clock and watchmaker that the country had ever seen.
Wow.
They wrote articles about him well after his death. And the year I opened, the January before we opened, a Henry Korf pocket watch from 1913 sold at auction for $3 million.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Yeah. When I tell you, I looked down in the basement, every crevice, every crack. I was trying to pull bricks out to see if one was hidden,
Yes.
But yeah, so in 1962 we moved here, and in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, this bar opened at 5 a.m. So there was a lot of third shift workers that would come in, a lot of bartenders after they had gotten off work and this and the other, but it was men only. I think the first woman walked in the 40s or something like that. I think it was 1945 we finally let a woman in.
Right.
And then it wasn't until the 1990s, that women were allowed to sit at the bar. So if a woman came in, she had to sit at a table, and a man had to buy her drinks. She wasn't allowed to spend her own money in the bar until 1993.
93?
Yeah, 1993, yeah. They were very heavy on it. We tried to bring that back, but it didn't test well.
One can only imagine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Ladies don't pay, that kind of thing. We're trying to be we had a chivalrous manner about it, but it wasn't going to work. There's no way you could ever bring something like that back. It wouldn't exist in today's world.
Not in the Me Too era.
Men only clubs, that kind of activity, it just wouldn't fly in today's world. But we did kind of change things up a little bit. Obviously, I added a cocktail list because I've been a mixologist before. I don't consider myself a mixologist, but I do dabble in cocktail creation. So I created a cocktail list. I brought in a lot of higher end wines. and like I made sure that my wine list went across the globe.
Say that.
You know, I like to have international stuff, not all just California and Oregon.
Yeah.
And so I brought a wine list in, and it kind of changed the clientele up because, like I said, in the 80s and 90s, this place was a very rough bar.
Yeah.
This was not a bar you brought a date to. This was not a bar that you brought friends and family to.
Right.
This is somewhere where you went to get so drunk you fell down.
Yeah.
And that's what they said. There's a joke someone told me that you'd come in at noon and there'd be guys laying on the ground passed out, and you just have to walk over them to get a beer because this place was rough.
Yeah.
It was super rough. And I mean, the city has its own, socioeconomic issues and stuff like that,
Right.
and there still is an edge to this bar. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pretend we don't have a little bit of a reputation as
Yeah.
being kind of a rowdy place, and we are. But the reason that we're rowdy is because most of our clientele are people who are just getting off from being bartenders, just
Yes.
being served, and and so we like to tie one on, and we like to have a good time,
Yeah.
and we get a little loud, and that's who we are. But
Yeah.
now the neighborhood's changing in a real way. I mean, right across the street, there's a multi-million-dollar hotel going in. So we have to deal with that as well. And so we're trying our best to keep the block looking nice. You know,
So
like
let's talk about how this bar has evolved and changed over the years, and
Right.
some of the things that you've seen.
So like I said, in the early '80s and '90s, this was a rough place to come.
Yeah.
It wasn't your sister's bar. It wasn't your you didn't bring family and friends. You didn't bring a date. It wasn't that kind of place.
Yeah.
It was very rough and tumble. And there were a lot of there's been a lot of like. In 2005, there was a shooting right in the doorway, and that actually shut the bar down for a good like 5-10 years. That they actually
Wow.
weren't open. Yeah, it changed hands and became a staffing place, like a temporary staffing place. And then in 2015 is when Fred came in and they found the old sign in the basement, the sign that hangs out
Wow,
front.
yes.
And they got it back into being the Bayhorse. They were going to demolish the building to make way for more room for the trucks to come in for the aeronaut, because we have the alleyway right here,
Yeah.
where the trucks come in
Yeah.
to load and unload the aeronaut shows. And so they were going to tear this building down, but Fred's a preservationist. That's it. Like the guy who owns the building, that's what he does.
Yeah.
So he came in and saved the Bayhorse from being destroyed. And but yeah, 70s, 80s, 90s, so rough, totally rough. And then Lori took over in 2015. She owned it from 2015 to 2022. And that's when they kind of got more of like a neighborhood feel.
Okay.
And and as more people are moving downtown, we're seeing this giant surge of people who are like actually coming downtown to live. And so we're getting a lot more residents. And that's why when in wintertime, when it snows really bad, we had that really bad snowstorm in December and in January, and February too.
Yeah.
And it led into February, yeah. We saw a significant decrease in traffic around here because most of our clientele walks here.
Yes.
Or this
Yep.
isn't like a destination bar really anymore. It's more of it was when Lori owned it. It was more of a destination bar. Now it's more of like you walk here from your house
Yep.
and you hang out here, and then you walk home.
I have stumbled home many
Yeah.
a night.
Yeah. I've slept on the couch. Like, I've stayed here overnight. Yeah, it's been really crazy. So it has changed. It's changed in, like I said, it went from being a destination bar to now it's a neighborhood bar, and we have it's a little bit different crowd, and
Right.
and we also have seen like the racial dynamic and stuff has changed too.
Yeah.
When I first opened, we really didn't get a lot of the African American crowd,
Right.
and we definitely didn't get any of the gay crowd.
Yes.
And that was something I reached out to other bar owners about, and being like, hey, how can I diversify my bar? I don't want to be just this. I want it to be all inclusive
Yeah.
and everybody feel welcome. And I talked to like the owners of Bloom, and like a couple of my other friends who work in these bars and stuff like that, and they were like, you know what? All it takes is that some people have to come down and feel comfortable,
Yep.
and they'll tell all of their
Yeah.
friends. And now I have this wonderfully diverse crowd that comes in here of all kinds of people,
Yeah.
and it makes me so happy to have that kind of crowd, and it's cool to watch people mingle who you would normally not see. Like last night, we had our regulars in, and then this group of people who were all in suits and dresses came in, and they were mingling, and everybody was talking and having a great time, and it's just nice to know had it not been for the Bay Horse, those people would have never met. They probably would have never been in the same room together, because there is a divide in this country that we were slowly but surely bringing back together. So it's a battle every single day. The stress of bar ownership,
I can't imagine,
was a little bit more than I was expecting. When I thought, when you think you know everything, that's when you really truly learn that you don't. And so I came in, and I've been bartending for 17 years, so I thought, hey, we're gonna knock this out. This is gonna be super easy. No problems. And then I learned about accounting and like number crunching and like what actually goes on behind the scenes of the part of the job that I was never doing, because I may have been the manager, I may have been the general manager, but I was never the owner.
Say that.
And having to deal with promotion. I've never been a really big Instagram guy. Like, it is really cool.
He kills it.
I try. Like I said, I've never really been into social media until like the last 2 years, and now I get criticized for being on the internet too much. A couple of my friends are like, "Man, I can't open my eyes in the morning without seeing 5 things you posted on the internet." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." But it is. That's actually a hard part of this, and finding my way through it, and and trying to find like who I am as a person and stuff outside of social media, and still be like a public figure at the same time has been challenging too. It has its
That's
own
interesting,
challenges.
because this theme is spring forward.
Yeah.
And so talk about some of the challenges and how moving into 2026, you're moving beyond those challenges.
Well, I'm definitely giving up women for sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
absolutely. That's 100%. Like, of all the added stress. I'm married to a horse. I'm just gonna stay married to a horse. It's fine. But yeah, no, I definitely think that going forward, that's going to be probably my main thing that I want to focus on this year, is finding the difference between myself and being the owner of the Bay Horse.
That.
I hate when I go. It's really, the duality is really cool. When I'm down here and I go to a bar, everybody knows who I am. Everybody wants to say hi. Everybody wants to talk. It's that, the other. And then I go home, and there's a bar across the street from my house, and I walk in, and everybody groans and goes, "Oh God, Kyle's here." Nobody talked to him, no one said, and I get to sit there by myself, and no one says a word to me. I maybe say 5 words to the bartender, and I doodle on my phone, and it's really it's a really nice duality, because I'm not a celebrity out there. Like where I'm from, I'm just the guy that everybody went to high school with, and like, I may be doing some stuff down here, but to them it's just a job. When I'm down here, there is a little bit more of a celebrity aspect to it. I said, like, I'm well known. I go around, I try to spread the love.
You do.
I try and spend as much, and I post everywhere I go.
I love what you do in that way so much.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show. You fuck with everybody, and there's such a beautiful reciprocity in the way you navigate being a bar owner while also supporting other bars.
Well, that's a big talking point with the Bay Horse. When I first moved in, I was afraid that everyone around was going to go, "Oh no, there's a new guy on the block. Let's shut him down. Let's figure out how we can beat him. Let's do this. Let's do that." And the first week that I was here, Chris from Arnold's was in this bar every day. He doesn't drink, but he'd come in and be like, "Do you need me to go get you anything? Do you need me in any way?" Jeff from Hearth Room came up, gave me a housewarming gift, and was like, "If you need anything, here's my phone number. Text me, ask me any questions." Tyler from Madonna's. Like, these are people who I'm in, whose phone numbers I have now, and I can text them at a moment's notice and be like, "Hey, liquor control's coming around, or the health department's on their way over there. Get everybody ready." And it's really cool. There's this different sense of community that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a lot of competition. And instead of the competition, it actually was like, "Hey, you're part of our community now," and they brought me in, and it was really. So like I said, now it made me feel really. My friend just opened Afterlife.
You fuck with them.
Oh, dude, I love Tracy. Love her to death. That's actually my accountant. And so she opened a bar. And so, she did my taxes last year, and I taught her how to bartend. Because she wasn't 100% sure on it. And now she's behind the bar every day. She's making great cocktails. She's got the fanciest glassware of anywhere in Cincinnati. No one beats her glassware in any way, shape, or form. I'm so proud of her. And so I go up there. I'll go up there anytime I'm downtown. I make sure that I stop at least there. And and check them out. And then you have like Queen City Exchange. You got Kat Mittendorf, who wins best bartender every year. I got 3rd place last year, and she beat me out for that. So I go up and I spend a little bit of money on her and make sure she's well taken care of, because it's a sense of community. And we give a discount to industry professionals here. Like if you're a bartender, a chef, or a cook, we make sure we give you a discount.
Yep.
And it's because I was a bartender for so long, and I got treated like that at bars where, you go in and they'd be like, oh, hey, let me take a little bit off your bill because we know who you are. And so I wanted to give that back to the people who work hard in this industry and then come into this bar.
Oh,
So
my little neighborhood bars growing up.
I know.
Talk about what people can find at the Bay Horse when they come down.
So every Tuesday night, we do karaoke. We've got
Yes,
a really great,
they
we
do.
have a really great karaoke. I think we're top 5 karaoke bars in Cincinnati right now with our karaoke. It is one of the funniest things you'll ever see. Some really surprisingly talented people.
Yeah.
We had a guy come in who, for all I can tell, is homeless. And he walks up down the street. I say hi to him every day, this, that, and the other. And one day in karaoke came and he sang a bunch of gospel. And I was blown away how talented this guy was, And then you've got Mike who comes in. He sings country songs, which I think is hilarious. Older black guy singing country. It's great. I love it. Yeah, right on.
Black people love country
they
too.
love country music too. Let's go. I don't care for it, but whatever. But yeah, so and there's just really surprisingly talented people.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, and we have a really good time. It goes from 7 to 11.
Okay.
And then one of the things here at the Bayhorse that we have carried on in tradition is we don't have a happy hour. Every hour is happy hour. It's written actually up on top of our door. Every hour is happy hour. And so instead of doing a happy hour, what I do is a daily special. So Tuesday during karaoke, all day long, you can get $1 off drafts.
Okay.
On Wednesday, we do half price wine.
Yep.
So, if you need Galentine's Day plans or anything like that, that's definitely the day to bring your girls in and drink your wine and stuff because you get half price glasses. Brings it down to like $6, $7.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really affordable. On Thursday is industry night. So we celebrate the bartenders, the servers, and the chefs. And so we do buckets of a Cincinnati classic, Little King. And then on Friday, we do $4 Fireball. I was being kind of petty. I'm not gonna lie, the Fireball thing was a petty move on my part because I wanted to have the cheapest Fireball deal of any bar in Cincinnati. No one sells it for under $5, so I was like, you know what? We're gonna do 4. Yeah, just to jab at everyone around, So that was kind of me being a weirdo. And then on Saturday, my personal favorite Saturday is $5 El Jimador, which is one of the best, one of my personal favorite tequilas.
Me too.
Of all time. Yeah,
we
really,
talk about,
really good tequila.
Solid.
Yeah, solid. So we do that for $5 on Saturday. And then on Sundays, during Bengal season and Red season, we do a $5 Hootapole Schooner. So that's what we're actually known for here is a 25-ounce glass of Cincinnati's
I've
best
seen it.
Hootapole. And when I first opened, I was like, oh, it's a funny joke. They drink Hootapole by the schoonerful, this, that, and the other, blah, blah. And my first week open, I bought 2 kegs. That's all I got was 2 kegs. Now I think this year we went through 109 kegs of Hootapole in a year. We're the #1 distributor of Hootapole in the city. We beat the Bengal Stadium and the Red Stadium in Hootapole sales. We get a plaque every year. I got my first plaque up there for 2024, and the 2025 plaque is being made and is on its way because we outdid everybody in Hootapole sales. We're the #1 distributor. It's really cool.
Okay, lastly, what's one of your favorite things about Cincinnati?
Oh gosh. Well, I love the riverfront. I love Smale Park. I think I love Washington Park.
Yeah.
Washington Park reminds me of like the smallest central park in the
Yes.
world.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like so concise. I have fallen in love with our soccer team. Like I've always been a Premier League guy. Like I'm a Man U, Manchester United fan. Death to Tottenham. But yeah, I've always been a Man U fan, but I really didn't like get into watching it on TV and doing stuff until like the last 2 years because I've partnering with Hootapole.
Right.
We have seats at the stadium, so every once in a while I can get tickets through Hootapole, and so going to soccer games and going to the rallies beforehand and watching the march and all the smoke and all the flags and how it's a giant parade every time they play. And, like there's no reason for it to be that big, but they just go all out. And so I joined the club up at Northern Row. And so you go up to Northern Row, you meet up there, and then you come back and you walk down to the stadium and everybody's chanting and stuff. It's really crazy. I also really love, another thing I love about Cincinnati that I've seen recently is how we immediately, as a collective, jump behind any city that's having a problem. Like in January and February, we had the Minneapolis stuff, and there was immediately a protest. Like we jump behind every issue, and we're there to make our voices heard, and we're there to stand as a community united. and it's really, really endearing to see
Yeah.
how many people from all walks of life converge on a space and say, we're not going to stand for this.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful, and that's
It's a part.
it's one of my favorite things about Cincinnati.
It's part of our
We will-
legacy,
we'll
and I don't
jump-
think we
will
talk
jump
about
in.
it enough.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I'm a little more seasoned than most, so I've seen it, and it's one of the things I'm most proud of.
But-
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Of
course.
We've talked about this for a long time. Just so to finally bring it to fruition is just, again, check it off my 2026. But this is Kyle Smith, owner of the Bay Horse Café.
Don't be a stranger.
Please don't. This is Cincinnati's conscience, home of the citizen celebrities, the people who are doing stuff in the city that don't always get their recognition, but always give their best. The only question I have for you is, are you turned on? I hope so.
I'm from Cincinnati. Skyline, Kroger, Grippo, and Graders. I'll catch you there later. You're in the natty. Some say a city of sinners, but I say we're winners. Let's hear it, the natty, natty.